Welcome to A Problem Squared, the problem-solving podcast that follows the ABC principle. Always be coming up with solutions to problems. My name is Matt Parker. I am 50% of your hosts, and I follow the ABC principle of always be calculating. It's in the calculations, not okay, both actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, there you are, skimming away in the corner right now.
Exactly.
You can't see this, but Matt is wrapping his fingers together.
Touching my matching fingertips one at a time to each other.
Yes.
Is that the right pose?
That?
Symmetrically contact. It's like
it's the
tapping
excellent.
a finger. Excellent.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? And as you've already heard, I am joined by the other 50% of the hosts. It's Beck Hill, who goes by the ABC policy of always Beck.
Always be chill.
Always be chill. You know what? Yeah. When I thought ABC, I was like, it's always be chill.
Yeah.
Comedian.
That's it.
People who have not yet enjoyed this, if you write Beck Hill as one word, it looks like be chill.
Yes.
And people often think Beck may have never noticed that.
Yeah, that's true.
And
yeah.
point it out to her.
But if you put a K in there after the C, it completely ruins
Broken.
it.
Such people would be dead to us.
No!
On this episode,
I'm going to help you make your farts smell less bad.
wow, I've solved the problem of what makes a computer super.
And there will be so many other business.
Oh, so much any other business.
Let's do a show.
Be chill. How have you been?
Good.
Good?
Good.
Good.
So, good.
Good.
As of this episode coming out,
Yep.
my second book has come out.
Oh my
Now
goodness.
Live Screaming, Horror
Wow.
Heights.
Nice.
And I thought I would show you a little thing. So, obviously,
Pop this out in the socials or link it in the show notes.
no, people can buy the book.
Oh, you said buy the book.
So I was going to
Oh, you show me the entire book. How long
I'm
is this
showing
going
you
to take?
a page from the book because the protagonist is a kid called Ryan who wants to be a streamer.
Gotcha.
And he sort of gets trapped in the studio and body of his favorite streamer.
Oh, wow.
And there's a lot of chat that takes place in the chat room. Mm-hmm. So I needed a lot of names
Oh, right,
that aren't real names so
Uh-oh.
that, kids don't look
Yeah.
them up and find someone problematic.
Exactly, yeah.
So
yeah.
look at that. He spoke slowly. My name is Grimph. And the first person in the chat.
Hey, it's me. Well, MA77PARK3R. Oh, that's amazing. And who are the other people?
That is my editor and
nice.
the layout designer of the book.
Should I do my line for the audiobook version?
Oh, yeah?
We know.
That's
Yeah,
it. That's
yeah,
his
thank you,
line.
thank
That
you.
is Matt's one line. It
Excellent.
appears on page 67
We'll
for
save
anyone
that
reading
clean
at home.
and you can just drop it in when you do the audiobook.
And I have popped you in the acknowledgements as well.
Oh,
Because
my
I-
goodness.
Look
at that.
You're amongst one of the group of people who I ended up boring to death with.
Yes, I'm listed right before. It literally says a bunch of people, Matt Parker, and everyone else who spent countless hours on the phone with me as I tried to unravel their story. I mean, I did it on the phone and in front of a fire.
Yeah. And it really helped. One of the things we discussed around that fire ended up becoming quite a large moment
There
in
you
the
go.
book. So thank
No
you.
spoilers. My pleasure. In fact, my good news, got an even better fire pit.
Oh, imagine
So look out for book
stories
3. Oh, my. Because before, if you remember, it was a barbecue with the legs taken off.
Yes.
Right?
And by barbecue, I mean, it's
terrible.
like a half cut open oil drum.
Yeah, but even it's like a fake cut. It's like a fake half cut open oil. You know when something's like trying to pretend to be the improvised version? It's just terrible. We bought it from...
It was a piece of metal.
It's a piece of metal.
With
We got it
some
for like
coal on it.
super cheap. Like it was the cheapest barbecue at one generic big, warehousey kind of superstore. And for a long time, and I may have mentioned this on the podcast, I can't remember, I was caught in the getting a temporary fire pit loop where I'd be like, I want to get a really cool geometric fire pit.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, that can take forever. I don't want to rush it, but I want a fire pit now so we can start, workshopping your stories.
Yeah, I'm burning my old receipts.
And I was like, I'll buy something super cheap. And then I'm like, oh, actually, if I spend a little bit more, I can get something still
Nice.
cheap, but a little bit. I'm like, oh, I can get this one. Oh, wait, what if it was geometric? And then I'm like, while I'm working on that, I'll just get a quick cheap one, right? And I just went around this cycle over and over and over again. I've finally broken out of it because someone emailed me and said, check out this fire pit I've made. Would you like it? And that fixed the problem.
What?
So the wonderful Stephen Mould hit 1 million subscribers just before me.
Yes, we know.
Not by much. And when he hit 1 million subs, I went and did a Q&A with him.
Yes.
Where we answered some questions people sent in. And we got discussing the notion of being derricked, which
What is derricked?
named after Derek, who does the Veritasium YouTube channel. Because on several occasions, Derek has put a video out on the exact same topic either Steve or I were working on. And so now when you're working hard on a video idea and someone else releases it, we call that being derricked.
Right. And this isn't, Derek hasn't meant to do this?
No, it's completely by
Coincidence.
accident. He is just as good as coming up with great video ideas as myself and Steve.
Mm-hmm.
And
I wonder if he could help me with my next book.
No, yeah, go straight to the source. I mean, we've just been copying his every move and pretending we were working on it anyway. So, but I said Steve had derricked me.
Yeah.
Where I was planning a video on something called a tensegrity structure. And we're normally pretty good at communicating what we're working on. We just hadn't mentioned. So I was working on this video and suddenly Steve releases a video on that exact topic. And
Right.
to be fair, did it really well.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a shame. And these are structures where they look like they shouldn't work because they're only held up by cables. And you're like, what? How can you? So you're like a structure's, like instead of being suspended by hanging down, it's suspended by hanging up. And it's
Right.
really weird. And I mentioned I was a big fan of these structures. Steve beat me to the video.
And is it linked a bit
derricked
to
me.
like how pulleys work?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Because once you've got tension in it, you can pull something up.
Yes. Yeah.
With a
Yep,
cable,
yep, yep, yep.
absolutely. And so someone sent me, I'm going to show this to you. We'll put it out on
Oh, wow.
Instagram. This is a fire pit that is suspended. So you can see there's a chain in the
Yeah.
middle that suspends the top and it's held in place by other cables.
Yeah, there's actually no solid legs
No solid legs.
between the top and the
Yep.
floor. There's solid legs at the bottom.
Cables and chains.
It looks a bit like a very shallow cauldron.
Yeah. I'd give that.
And then it's got a little sort of dippy bit. So it does have a solid bit that comes down but does not touch the ground.
Nope.
And then that's touched by a chain that is
Pretty
going
good as
up.
a fire pit because it doesn't scorch the ground or anything because the heat,
Oh, yeah.
the top bowl heats up, but it's not. It's got no direct connection to the
Yeah.
base. Yeah. That fire pit is now in my backyard.
Oh,
And we're yet to put a fire in it. So
Are you
tonight,
serious? Tonight's the first time?
tonight is the inaugural
I'm so glad I
Tensegrity fire
brought
pit fire. Oh, you got the marshmallows. Yeah.
that. That is the sound of a pack of giant marshmallows.
So I'm very excited. And so I got this fire pit. I ended up paying the person for it. I was like, let me buy this
Yeah.
fire pit off you. And got it delivered. It's so good. And so this was Fusion Fire Bowls. I did not promise them they'd get any kind of shout out or mention, but,
No, but
it's such a cool fire pit.
Yeah, it looks
We'll
amazing.
take a photo of us enjoying it this evening.
And you're going to need a new one after tonight because I am going to fill it with so much marshmallow I've dropped.
Oh, you didn't bring like receipts and documents to dispose of this
No,
time?
I forgot.
You forgot?
I know. Now that you've got one big enough for me to use as a
Yeah.
shredder, I forgot.
Oh, well.
Next time.
Marshmallows.
Yeah, this time marshmallows.
Our first problem, and I think this is very much for you, Beck, is sent in by Professor Poopy Butthole. I suspect that's his pseudonym. Hilarious Rick and Morty reference. Good work, everyone. And Professor P says, can one produce less smelling or even well-smelling farts by eating or drinking a certain food? Wow. It's not even, I guess it's just like, can they smell less based on what you eat and drink? Beck.
As in the farts
The
smell
farts.
of...
Yeah. Can
Not-
you alter...
Not your
the-
olfactory. Not you smell
Not
less.
the smelling. Yeah, no, you won't smell less.
It's called COVID.
Yeah. That's a simple solution. Right,
Yeah.
next problem. So, can you alter the smell of your farts based on what you eat?
I love this question because
I mean, it's
this problem...
It's perfect
It's
back.
right up my alley.
Way-oh.
Out my alley. Because, I mean, I'm sure I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but I have IBS, which has led me to be very open and honest and shameless about my bowel situations.
Yeah. And for the record, you've got the sense of humor that goes hand in hand.
I think
with
you
such a
have to.
candid approach. Oh, do you reckon what came first? What?
I do you know what? I think the tummy and butt troubles came first.
Really?
Yeah, because I wasn't really massively into like poo and I thought
jokes.
bum stuff was funny as a kid, but fart
See.
jokes and stuff I was
Well,
a
every
bit
kid
like
does.
meh. But as I got older and I realized if I don't fart about it, keep that
I'm going to
in.
explode.
If I don't laugh about it,
I'm going to fart about it.
I would cry like it is, because it is really embarrassing, and you've got to make a choice whether you sink into the shame or
or
just
embrace.
bathe in it.
Yeah. Stuff.
And this is, I mean, some of you listening will find
have
this too much information. Others, you might relate. But one thing I found being in a long-term relationship is not only do I fart in my sleep, not only have I woken up my husband, Gav,
Oh, wow.
by farting in my
That's
sleep,
incredible.
but I have woken him up not with the sound.
Oh, just
the
smell.
He wakes up and he's like, and there's been several times where I've woken up because he's getting out of bed to open a window. And I'm like, what are you doing out of bed? And he's like, oh, just letting in some air. And he's so sweet.
Oh, I just fancied hearing the street noise.
He won't. In the past, I have been so worried about waking him up from it. Not that I'm like ashamed. I can't control that. I'm asleep. But I don't want his sleep to be ruined by it. And so there have been times in the past where I have been so conscious of it that as soon as I start to feel my body relax to go to sleep, I get worried I'm about to fart.
No.
And I quickly end up like running to the bathroom and being like, whatever I've eaten, like get out the evil now.
Now. Yeah.
And I can't believe I've never actually looked into whether I can.
It sounds
stop
so obvious now. Now Professor Poopy Butthole brings it up.
So one thing I do know is that I tend to have those farts if I've eaten certain foods.
Right.
Beans, it's a classic
Cliché.
one. But broccoli and cauliflower, not in sort of small quantities, but every now and then I've been known to have quite large quantities.
Did you keep like a food diary or something to discover this, or is this just like anecdotal?
No, you just start to like make the connections.
Okay.
If I have like a steak with a very garlicky, oniony sauce or something, that'll tend to
That'll bleed through.
Yeah, that's right. And so I sort of was aware a little bit and I looked into it. And one thing is that high protein diets creates hydrogen sulfide, which is...
that's the rotten egg
it's
smell.
the rotten egg smell. Yeah. So basically, if you're having very smelly farts, it might be because you've got a very high protein high diet. I wasn't aware of this, but in my research, it was sort of supported quite a lot that a lot of bodybuilders and stuff tend to sort of be known for having quite smelly farts.
Right, because they're like eating protein supplements and all this jazz.
Yeah.
Because I guess eggs have a lot of protein in them.
They do.
Is that what they smell like that when they go off, or is that just a...
Well, I'm glad you asked, because we've actually got an expert that will tell us a bit more about it.
Yes.
Yeah. I reached out to Dr. C.K. Yao
Yeah.
from Monash University.
Oh, wow.
Melbourne. Yep. Who did a lot of research into this.
Of course.
About sort of five or so years ago. Was able to answer some of my questions, but she's also on maternity leave at the moment. And so I also contacted Dr. Jessica Berzakerski, who is a senior lecturer and researcher at Monash University as well.
That's also in Melbourne.
Yes. And Jessica has worked on similar things and is also currently doing a lot of research on eggs.
Oh, my goodness.
So I have an exact answer to your question.
Literal expert.
Right here.
Hydrogen sulfide is the predominant sulfur gas that underlines that famous term of rotten egg gas. However, eggs don't make most of us actually fart, but they do contain sulfur-packed methionine. So fermentable carbohydrates such as oligosaccharides, resistant starch, non-starch polysaccharides, these fermentable carbohydrates, they are found in a wide variety of foods, garlic, onions, even wheat and rye products. Galacto-oligosaccharides found in beans and pulses can not actually be broken down in the small intestine, and they pass through into the colon. There they undergo fermentation by bacteria producing gas. This gas can lead to the wind, flatulence, blow off, pop off, farts, whatever term you feel comfortable with. The composition of the gas produced varies, but mostly includes odourless gases such as nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, along with carbon dioxide and methane. When it comes to the smelly gases, or scientifically termed malodorous rectal gas, the characteristic unpleasant odour comes from trace amounts of sulphur compounds. Overcooking an egg leads to a really strong sulphurous odour. So the sulphur that is naturally contained in the egg whites actually reacts with the iron in the yolks, resulting in that discoloration, so that olive green ring that you might see appear around the yolk. And this is due to that sulfide formation. So cooking the yolk releases the iron, and cooking the whites releases the hydrogen and sulphur. And that rotten egg smell, especially when eggs are overcooked, is from the hydrogen, sulfur and iron reacting to create hydrogen sulfide. As a side note, if anyone has tried a preserved egg, also known as the century egg or the 1,000-year egg, that unique traditional Chinese food, you would see that discoloration and smell that strong sulfurous odour.
Now, I know that pretty much answers the question.
Yeah, I think you've done it.
If there's one thing I know about our audience and the audiences who we've performed to, is that you can't have too much information.
Oh, you cannot.
So so Dr. Jessica has explained how the experiments were done.
Amazing. Followed through with more detail.
Recently, Dr. C.K. Yao from Monash University used a novel in vitro gas profiling technology to assess real-time the hydrogen sulfide measurement and assess its production following exposure to different dietary factors. So Dr. C.K. Yao's research showed us that readily fermentable fibres, resistant starch and fructans can suppress hydrogen sulfide even in the presence of excessive hydrogen sulfide stimulation. She mixed slurries from freshly passed healthy human feces and added different carbohydrates which ranged in their fermentation rate, and mixed it with cysteine alone or in different combinations. She used cysteine because we know that it's a major sulfur-containing component of meat, eggs, dairy and other types of protein. And she sampled the hydrogen sulfide release every 5 minutes over a 4-hour period. The results showed that resistant starch suppressed hydrogen sulfide production by a mean of 89%, and the fructan also reduced the hydrogen sulfide production by a mean 82%. And interestingly, the addition of the fructans to the slurries that contained cysteine significantly suppressed hydrogen sulfide by 90%. So both resistant starch found in potatoes, bananas, legumes and some cereals, and fructans found in wheat, rye, artichokes, reduced hydrogen sulfide production. Mechanistically, we know that these foods are highly fermentable, meaning they are preferentially broken down ahead of protein, so hydrogen sulfide was not produced as much.
I'll make it very clear, all this gas sampling is not done in human.
Yeah.
It's a slurry in, I guess, a bucket or something in a lab. Yep.
This was one of the questions that Dr. C.K. Yao was able to answer for me, because I said, when researching human gas emissions, do you have to collect samples? How is that done?
Valid question.
Because I like to think that they just had a bunch of people lined up. They walk around with a little jar.
A little,
Pull everyone's
fart
finger.
detector. Yep.
While they collect it. But Dr. C.K. said, it was the favourite question, yes, my participants had to provide fresh fecal samples on demand.
Wow.
In our laboratory. In our laboratory. I'm thinking of lavatory.
In our lavatory.
Lavatory.
The lab.
And then she said they used to wait around for the time when they feel the urge to empty and collect them into a takeaway container. I'm hoping it wasn't just like a noodle box.
Yeah.
And then she says quite a few of them had stage fright.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah.
I think stage fright is still the wrong phrase to use.
Yeah.
Like it's a very niche show.
Like whenever I've seen films or TV shows where, the joke is that like someone took a dump or, they're like, oh, they took a dump on my lawn.
On my car.
Yeah.
I'm always
yeah.
like, wow.
I don't know how anyone could do that on demand.
I wouldn't have the confidence.
Yeah. Because I would either, I don't know, when I got to go, I can't time it.
Yeah.
It controls me.
Yeah. What's wagging what around here?
I also asked Dr. C.K. Yao about the fact that Gav and I often eat the exact same thing.
Oh.
And yet
he's
the one getting woken up in the middle of the night.
Yep.
Yeah. So she said it could be a lot of different factors, differences in the types or amounts of gut bacteria that break down protein or metabolize sulfate might be one. Anatomical differences such as your large bowel passage or transit could be another reason. The longer it is, the more time for fiber to be consumed by bacteria and turn by breaking down protein. So I thought that was quite interesting.
Bowel geometry.
Yeah. Also, the amount of gas doesn't necessarily relate to the smell.
Yeah, because I guess some gas is odorless.
Yes.
And some gas is horrific.
Yeah. So I had those answers as well. Of course, both Dr. Jessica and Dr. CK said if you are experiencing particularly smelly farts, and something that feels a bit unnatural or unusual, definitely go see a doctor. So if it's not been ongoing and it's a new occurrence, speak to your doctor.
It's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah. Or even if it has been ongoing and you've never mentioned it to a doctor, maybe
go ask.
Yeah.
They're not going to be surprised or judge you about anything.
No, not at all. But I wasn't going to get stopped.
Don't bring it in a takeaway container, but carry on.
Because I thought, right, we've sort of given some rough examples of ways that you could reduce your smelly farts. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Well, actually, in some cases, no.
Oh, well,
Cabbage will make it worse.
Oh, I gotcha.
But I also wanted to see if there was anything in particular that was out there.
Right.
Which is when I came across a French website for the pet pilule or pilule pet. So pilule is pill.
Right.
Pet, fart.
Oh.
Fart pill.
Fart pill.
And I'm going to show you a picture of the guy.
I don't want to see this picture.
Who has invented this.
Oh. For the record, Becca's looking this up online. It hasn't been saved on her. Oh my goodness. It's like the Father Christmas of farting. That's incredible. Oh my goodness. No, okay. I take it back. It's somewhere between Father Christmas and a gnome or some kind of magical being. There's a theme park. Something called Plopsaland.
What?
Plopsaland. I think it's in the Netherlands. The first time I drove past the sign for Plopsaland, I lost my plop. That's the funniest thing I've seen in my life. And they've got like characters that advertise it, and that's what that reminds me of.
Oh right, okay. It's not about.
No. It's like a theme park, a perfectly family friendly theme park. It just happens to have a very funny name to my cultural ears. No, it's not like a poo themed theme park. Although I have no doubt that exists. People don't write in and tell us.
So I asked Dr. Jessica Pekursky whether she thought if these pills would work.
Farter Christmas has something.
Yeah, so these pills apparently are meant to make your fart smell like roses.
That's bold.
Yeah.
That's not even just neutralizing. That's the potpourri. Wow.
Yeah, and the creator is someone called Lutin Malin. It says Lutin Malin is an inventor, winner of the gold medal in 1999 at the prestigious Lépine Inventors Contest in France.
Wow.
There's loads of press.
Never heard of it before, but now I'm amazed.
Yeah, all this stuff.
And they will take money in exchange for these pills?
They will. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to get a full ding on this one.
What, the pills specifically?
Yeah.
Right. But why? They sound so good.
I thought for the purposes of science.
Uh-oh. You asked an expert, didn't you?
I didn't only do that, Matt. I ordered some.
Oh, my God. Of course you did.
And they haven't arrived yet.
Oh, my goodness.
But you get 60 pills in a pack. So there is enough. There is plenty.
It wasn't the quantity of them that I was concerned about.
What I'm saying is there is enough for both of us.
Oh, good. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bring them next record. Oh, my goodness.
And we're going to find out whether they work for either of us.
If we ever record in the cupboard,
we
better.
Well, yeah, I hope they work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously, I didn't want to just be taking pills that we bought from the internet without checking with an expert first. So I checked it out.
I'm afraid I'm not aware of any science to actually support these claims. Ideally, in a scientific setting, we would set up a series of studies to assess your fecal hydrogen sulfide response following manipulation with various substrates, of which one of these pills could be one. Interestingly, there was a study a while ago to develop some sort of absorptive device where they hypothesized that activated charcoal and zinc may actually remove the sulfur gases and eliminate the smell if used either internally or externally, so around the anus. And in this study, they tested a charcoal-lined cushion that was instilled at the anus to absorb sulfur-containing gases. Although they only assessed this in 8 subjects, they did show that it limited the escape of these sulfur-containing gases into the environment. I'll tag the papers below. And as a side note, look up charcoal fart pads. Interesting stuff.
That sounds like the polite science way of saying
I've wasted
your money
19
on
euros.
Yeah. But, let's wait till we get them. Give them a go.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to do was make sure that the ingredients weren't going to be anything that was too dodgy.
Oh, that's fair enough. Yeah, smart.
Yeah. But I found that reading the list of ingredients sounded a little bit like the lyrics to a rather popular track. So I sent those ingredients.
You sent the ingredients for the
I sent the list of ingredients of the fart pills, of the pet pilule, to a long-time listener, good firm friend.
Yep.
Gareth Turkington.
Right.
Wonderful actor and voice actor.
Oh, here we go.
And said, could you do something with this?
Oh, my goodness.
And he sent this back.
Yep.
Vegetal charcoal contributes to the proper functioning of the intestinal tract. Fart live and relieves flatulence and the feeling of fullness after a meal. Fart live, the ESCOP and E2 have recognised the use of fennel seeds as a treatment for dyspepsia. Fart live, propolis can prevent gastric ulcers and dried blueberries relieve diarrhoea. Oh, the pet pillow, so many pet pillows, they all have lethathamin for your fart life.
Okay, that's Gareth. Thank you very much. That's incredible. That is, this is a comprehensive. I don't know how useful the song is for Professor Poopy Butthole.
Yes.
Name redacted, but it cheered me up.
It's your new ringtone.
However, yeah, exactly. That's how I open and close all my shows now. However, the very early on, what was this type of starch?
Resistant starch.
Resistant starch and
fructans.
I mean, I feel like you solved the problem. And you've explored other avenues just to rule them out.
Yes.
In both peer-reviewed science and parody song.
Yes. And we might even be able to recommend a pill
we will find
at some
out
point.
At some point.
But probably not.
But I would say, even with that still pending, this is a ding.
Yes.
Ding.
Have a dinglet for you, Matt.
Right.
This is from Benjamin.
Yep.
Who says, when does a computer become a supercomputer and do publicly purchasable personal computers surpass the capabilities of the first/early supercomputers? If so, how much would it cost? By the way, that is a tongue twister.
That is a heck of a problem.
There's a lot of P's and C's in that one.
A lot of P's and C's, a lot of pops. Thank goodness we got pop guards on these microphones.
I know, especially after the last problem.
So, yes. So, Benjamin, good question. When is a computer a supercomputer? It turns out if it's just a really good computer, there's no hard and fast rule. It's just is your computer super? Yes, it's a supercomputer.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's just whether you name it a supercomputer?
Well, it basically means it's way more powerful than your standard computer. And if you have a standard computer like my laptop that's in front of us or my computer over there, it's got a processor, which might have a couple cores, which is like processors within it.
Like I was going to say, every computer you use is going to be more powerful than probably the ones I use.
Yeah, probably, yes. That's because I do ridiculous computational things with them.
Yeah.
But they're still off-the-shelf computers with arguably one processor.
Yeah.
With, again, sub-cores, all that jazz. Maybe a GPU, your graphical processor.
Uh-huh.
That's about it. And it's very general purpose. Like the GPU is a bit closer to what a supercomputer would be because it's made for a very specific task.
Uh-huh.
Like the reason you have a separate graphics processor is you can build it from the ground up to be good at just doing the sorts of calculations you need for graphics. Whereas your CPU's got to be able to do whatever you throw at it. So it's very general purpose. A supercomputer is when you just get a lot of processors together to do a very specific task, like a type of calculation, and you just join a whole bunch of them together until you've got enough for it to be super. And that's kind of it.
So if we connected oh my gosh, it's like Voltron or like the Power Rangers Zorg.
I'm going to go with Voltron. I'd also accept the Transformers when a bunch of them join together to make a big one.
Yeah.
Because you're right, you just put a bunch together. Famously, people have made supercomputers out of like PlayStations. The US Air Force once joined together 176 PS3s because they can run a variation of Unix, and they just joined them all together and made a supercomputer.
That sounds like something you would have done for your YouTube channel.
Oh, it's so... Well, there is a whole... So I studied a little bit of computer science when I was at uni, but the whole way of how you program things to distribute tasks to be done in parallel by all these processes is a huge area of research and undertaking. So these computers, you've got to then be able to run calculations on them that can be done in a meaningful manner across all these different processes at once and then bring it all back together. But done properly, it's incredible.
See, this is how I feel about this is like the difference between how you function and I function. Like I feel like I am just the PS3 and you're all the PS3s.
No, that's not true. Definitely not true. No, I'm like the very specific chip that just does one thing, which is calculations.
Yeah, but you can do a lot of things at once.
Whereas you've got a GUI. Yeah, that's true. I can multi-thread.
Whereas I'm an Etch-a-Sketch.
I can skip between things. I always think, and this is a thing I've gone about a long time. No, that's going to be a whole distraction. Let's not do that. Yeah. I much like an Etch-a-Sketch. If you shake me above your head, I forget what I'm meant to be doing too. So that's an accurate.
True. We're both filled with magnetic filings.
I have been inside 2 supercomputers in my life.
I hope you bought them dinner first.
Well, no, it's a family podcast. Do you want to guess where? Two supercomputers. So this is interesting. This is both where do you think a supercomputer would be and where do you think I would be able to go and get access to a supercomputer.
Okay,
I didn't get to run any processes. I literally just got to walk around.
Is one in Leicester?
No. Exeter. It was at the Met.
That is not what I was thinking.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, the weather office that do all the calculations.
Wait, that's in the southwest?
Yeah.
Of the UK?
Of the UK.
The Met?
Yeah.
As in the Met Gala?
Not the Met Gala. Oh, my goodness. The meteorological people. They've got supercomputers for predicting the weather.
Ah.
Yeah. And so they run all their simulations on, it's basically like a server farm. You're in a big room with just rack after rack of processors.
Is it like what whenever there's like a film with something to do with computers and someone has to go and like destroy the mainframe?
Exactly that.
It's that.
Exactly
okay.
that. And the other one is...
I want to guess.
Here we go. Yep. Not in the UK, not in Australia.
Okay. The US.
Not in the US.
Oh.
It's in Europe.
Denmark.
Switzerland.
Oh. Because it's cold there? And they could keep the computers cold?
But the amount of air, like air conditioning as such, like the ventilation and stuff to keep these chips cool is incredible undertaking.
Huh.
CERN. The Met office emailed, we were on tour with Spoken Nerd, and said, you're doing a show nearby. do you want to drop by and see our supercomputer? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And soon I was there anyway doing some stuff, some other bits and pieces. And I said, can I see your supercomputer? And they're like, yes, you may walk around in our supercomputer.
So when you say...
So basically, in all those cases, all you're really doing is you're just got a lot of processors all joined together. That said, you can still put a number on how big a computer is by how many floating point calculations it can do per second. And floating point just means doing calculations on a type of number that's got a decimal point, which actually means you can have very big numbers and very small numbers. It's the scientific notation of numbers.
Yep.
And you can measure how many of those per second a computer can do. So at the time of recording, Apple claim the iPhone 12 can do 11 billion floating point operations per second. So just to make this a bit easier, it's 11 followed by 9 zeros.
It's a lot of zeros.
So it's roughly 10 to the power of 10.
Yep.
The current batch of supercomputers are doing roughly 10 to the power of 17 calculations per second.
Wow.
Which makes a supercomputer about 10 million times faster than an iPhone 12. Or to put it another way, to rival the current top supercomputers, you need to have 10 million iPhones joined together.
Wow.
And that's a phone, though. If you get a current Mac, like if you get one of the new M1 Macs and you just look at their GPU, so the graphics chip, which is the kind of chips you probably want to use in a supercomputer, they claim they're doing on the order of 2.5 trillion calculations per second.
Oh.
Which is way more.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's a much bigger chip. It's got better ability to remove heat, all those things. That we're talking, that's only like 100,000th of a supercomputer. So 100,000 Mac laptops could give you a top supercomputer. I mean, obviously you far fewer. This is why there's only a couple hundred PS3s. Like, it depends how many you need. But the absolute best supercomputers at the moment would be still on the order of hundreds of thousands of laptops.
Right. But if you were going for the lowest...
Yeah, far fewer. Yeah.
What you're saying is the difference is a computer or 100 PS3s.
Yeah. Give or take. But the question from Benjamin was, when does it become a supercomputer? And how does it compare to ones of the past? Because if you think about it, computers get more and more powerful.
We got there in the end.
Yeah, exactly. I'm working my way around to Benjamin's problem here. And so there's a thing called Moore's Law, where computers get twice as powerful every 2 years.
Ah.
As a general rule of thumb. Every 2 years, chips are roughly twice as powerful.
Why don't you just say 1 times as powerful every 1
year?
year.
I will leave that to you to work out.
Or 0 times
0
powerful.
times every 0. Yeah, so Moore's Law predicts that computers get faster. And Moore's Law is held for like half a century now. Partly because chip manufacturers use it to set their targets. So it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point.
Gotcha, yeah.
But it still means if you want to roughly work out what's going to be happening in the future, you can use it as a very vague guide. This means if you wait for an iPhone to catch up to the current best supercomputers, it's going to take about 46 years.
Oh my goodness.
So
That's
phones...
potentially within our lifetime.
Yeah, so the supercomputers now, potentially once we're super old, how does this thing work? We'll be using phones with the same computing power as the absolute best computers
it'll be
now.
a chip in our heads by then.
Whereas a Mac laptop, should eclipse the current best supercomputers in about 30 years.
Wow.
Give or take. But then I was like, well, you know what? I'm talking about the future.
I could predict the weather on my own computer.
Exactly. On your phone. But... And I wouldn't put it past our listeners to wait and check in 30 and 46 years, respectively. But we can look backwards.
Oh, yeah.
And say, if I say a phone in 46 years from now would be the equivalent of a modern supercomputer. If I say a phone in 46 years, let's say 50 years from now, will be the equivalent of today's supercomputer. Is a phone now the equivalent of a supercomputer from 50 years ago when the first Crays were coming out? They were great. Supercomputers, they had a bench built in so you could sit down while they're doing a calculation. I love the original Cray supercomputers. So I looked back, and the old Crays were doing about 160 million floating point calculations per second,
Okay.
which is the equivalent of 68 and 3/4 iPhone 12s, which is on the order of, give or take, 1% of a modern iPhone 12. So actually, a modern iPhone, the cutting edge iPhone, is about 70 times more powerful than a supercomputer from 1975.
Oh my goodness. This is terrifying, that is.
It's terrifying. So there you are, Benjamin. I hope that answers your question. Yes, about 50 years. And a phone would be the equivalent to a supercomputer.
Dinglet.
Thank you. Now it's time to take care of any AO business. Beck, what have we got in the AOB inbox this time?
Yeah, someone wrote into us to say, I think you need a website/wiki page so that we can easily see the previous questions asked and their solutions.
Oof.
There you could also include links to your sources or the spreadsheet/code Matt makes for certain problems, as well as pictures.
Oh,
I think that's a great idea.
that's a great idea. Who said that in?
Matthew,
Matthew. Not me, by the way.
not you.
I mean, I agree with Matthew, though.
So do I.
Because I forget I forget what we've done in this podcast. The problem with the podcast is it's very conversational, and we mean that in like a literal sense. We just sit down and chat,
Yeah.
and that becomes the podcast.
Yeah, and then Lauren, the producer,
Turns it into like
makes it sound good.
Makes it sound like a
Cuts out
legitimate
all of our awful rambles.
hours of ramble.
Yeah.
No two consecutive words are left next to each other once the edit is done.
Yeah, that's right.
It's totally reconstructed from the ground up.
Lauren has to cut out every word, and then she has a little soundboard.
Yeah, exactly. Just plays it back in again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I forget what we've talked about, and if I've mentioned stuff on the podcast. So, a wiki would be really useful.
Yeah, but we are not.
We have not got
do
the time or resources for that.
No.
If anyone wants to make a wiki, we will do whatever we can to help.
Yes.
We can make the assets available from the episodes.
Yeah. Yep.
As in like all the pictures and stuff we share.
Files and stuff.
I put some code on GitHub, but I could be better at that. Happy to, it's terrible code though. But yeah, anyway, but some kind of definitive list. Just even a bare bones outline of all the problems we've solved in the world.
Yeah.
And then we can count them. We'll know how many dings have we had.
Yeah.
Because when's the 100th ding coming up?
I think we've already had it.
No.
Yeah.
This is episode 033. There's no way we've averaged 3 dings
We
an
did
episode.
we did some quickfire ones.
Oh, that's a good point. But even then, I swear the average is going to be between 1 and 2.
The point is, if anyone out there wants to undertake a project, get in touch.
Get in touch.
Get us
Let us know.
on aproblemsquared.com.
Yeah.
Go to the
Or just
problem
do it.
posing page.
It's the
Or
internet.
just do it.
Go wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let us know.
Thank you so much to all of our listeners who, by definition, listen to the podcast. Some of you review it and share it. Greatly appreciated. We thoroughly enjoy being able to sit down and make this. But let's not forget the most important people that make this happen is us. So what on us? But on top of that, see, I do that just to make Beck laugh. She thinks I'm
Just to
about
make sure I'm listening.
Exactly, just to check. Because you think I'm going to thank the Patreon supporters.
I do.
And I thanked us again.
You did.
Oh, go
What do
us.
you like?
But anyway, the Patreon supporters are why we're able to pay the bills and keep it
expensive
forward.
fart pills.
Oh my goodness. You spent more on fart pills than ever before in this episode. And I picked 3 names completely at random, rigorously at random, and we thank them. Which this episode is Andy Harney
Bernard Dieber.
and David Veras. Veras?
Yeah.
Veras. Dave.
I think that's Farah's.
Thanks, Dave. This episode of A Problem Squared featured Beck Hill and myself, Matt Parker. It was produced and somehow edited by the notorious LAC, Lauren Armstrong Carter. Oh, and Beck. Oh, where did I put my deck down? Hang on, sorry. In the interest of full transparency, we're recording this the same day as the previous episode, so I haven't had a chance to go and get my actual deck. So once again, I'm clutching at cards. Is this your card?
No.
Oh, so unfair. Next time.